Recently, we have seen oil prices oscillate between $90 and $92. We've seen rising price in the price of oil. And to discuss these and other recent developments in the Nigerian oil space and how the oil of price obviously is going to impact on the Nigerian economy, I'm joined by an oil and gas expert, Olabode Sowunmi. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, we'll just start off, with the recent escalating tensions in the Middle East and, the concerns and discussions around, the potential supply disruptions that we have seen lately with regards to oil. How do you foresee these geopolitical factors impacting global oil prices, and how does all of this, trickle down to Nigeria?
Global tensions in oil and gas is not new. In fact, global tensions in any commodity, whether it be gold, cocoa, copper, whatever, is not new. And what it does happen is that, like it happens with any other commodity, there are times that the prices go up, there are times that the prices go down. Now, incidentally, these oil prices is connected with the issues in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, because it affects Russia's input into global oil, which affects Europe's input for gas. It also affects the tension between Gaza, between Israel and the Palestinians. So, in simple terms, this will lead to an increase in price, and the price will continue to increase for the short term. As to what that means for Nigeria, that just means more income for the federal government. Now, more income for the federal government may not necessarily be more income for the people, because that is now entirely up to how the federal government utilizes the money available to them. But in simple terms, it is positive news for Nigeria, so it's more income for us.
Yeah, okay, you have talked about, how oil is just like any other commodity. How, there are times where the price goes up and there are times where the price falls. And recently we have seen rise in the price of oil lately. And this is even higher than, the federal benchmark for the year 2024. What do you make of this development?
Well, this is not the first time that oil price will go higher than the benchmark for the budget. It has been happening since the time of Obasanjo, since the time of Babangida. So what it means is that there is excess funds in the economy. When there's excess funds, or what you know as the excess crude oil funds, the ideal thing is that it's supposed to go into the sovereign wealth fund. And that's why the sovereign wealth fund was created in the first place. You will recall that a similar oil-producing nation like ours, which is Norway, has the highest sovereign wealth fund in the world, which is close to like $1 trillion, if my memory is correct. So what I think should be the right thing, but that is just my own view, will be that the excess from the crude oil will go to the sovereign wealth fund and will be used to buffer our US dollar account, which has been so dilapidated during the last government. But of course, that's a judgment call. It's entirely up to the government to do what they think is the right thing.
Just move slightly away from that now, to conversations that have heightened around, the refineries, having a working refinery in Nigeria. There has been lots of conversations from rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery to the final, kickoff of the refinery in Lagos, that is the Dangote refinery. What do you make of this? And in the past month, there still has not been much happening in that regard. What do you make of this as someone who closely monitors the activities in the oil and gas sector?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
I was speaking to, increased conversations around Nigeria finally having a working refinery. There has been conversations around, rehabilitating or restarting some refineries like the Port Harcourt refinery. There was lots of conversations around, rehabilitating it. But then again, there is also the talks around Dangote refinery in Lagos finally kickstarting and we refining our oil. As someone who closely monitors, the activities of Nigeria's oil and gas space, what would you say is the cause of these delays, and how important is it that we, have refineries that actually do work, especially with what we're seeing play out in the global stage?
Thank you. I'm not sure that delay will be the right word. There may be the fact that people doing the project management for the refineries may have been more optimistic than usual in terms of giving us definitive timing for the completion of their project. But project timing being inaccurate is a global phenomenon. That is not to mean that is the right thing. So what I think, and is more important, is that the people that are running the refinery, the people that are preparing the refinery, the people that are working on the refinery, they get their acts correct, and that the Nigerian refinery will serve as a proper competition for the Dangote refinery. In other words, once Dangote refinery is working, we don't see any reason why the Nigerian refineries should not be working. I think that should be a better perspective to look at the issues.
Now, interesting perspective there with regards to your point on project management. But I'd like for us to, also touch on issues around oil theft, vandalization of oil pipelines across the nation, which has, been a major concern, especially with Nigeria being able to fulfill its budgetary target of 1.78 billion barrels a day. But let us hear from you. Are you seeing any active actions towards addressing the issues, the concerns around, oil theft, vandalization of oil pipelines, and all of these issues that have continued over time?
Okay. I think it is important to, first of all, note that oil theft is a global phenomenon. And there are three things that all governments in the world have not been able to do anything on. One is illegal drugs, hard drugs. The other one is illegal diamonds. The third one, obviously, is oil, illegal crude oil. So even the American government with the U.S. Coast Guard and the FBI and the CIA and all that have not been able to totally stop that. So it's important to keep that in perspective. The second thing is that it is a multi-government approach. So we are talking about the military being involved, in this case the Navy. We are talking about oil companies being involved. We are talking about the communities themselves being complicit. In other words, it will be impossible to steal crude oil if the communities themselves are not complicit. So I haven't had such multi-factor input. It will be simplistic to just lay the blame on one person. So it is my own view that the approach to this is for us to determine as a nation what is important to us. If we agree, including all the communities and the sectors that are involved, that we do not want oil theft to be a reality in Nigeria, it will not be. But to expect somebody sitting in one office because he has a tag, either a chief of staff or a chief of army staff or president, to just wave a hand and solve all the problems will amount to self-delusion. There are graver issues at stake. And the issues at stake are really about us determining what we want and what is important to us. And I think that's where the conversation should be going. I mean, that is really if we want to stop oil theft. But like I said, and like one of the IOCs, that's international companies, MD said at the conference about a year and a half ago, oil theft in Nigeria is like organized crime. There are just so many layers to it. So it's just dependent on us. What do we really want about it?
I'll just put you on the spot again. You have talked about it being, an organized crime, and how it is the responsibility of everyone involved, towards tackling this. But are you seeing actions, active actions towards addressing these issues? We have heard of quite a number, from Melikari, who is the chief of the NNPC. But are you seeing, active actions like I asked?
I think it will be difficult to say there is no action because, the people that were murdered a couple of weeks ago, they were murdered while doing precisely that, trying to prevent oil theft. So, if you tell the military that they didn't doing anything about it, considering that people are dying in that area, they will consider it an insult to them. So, if you tell the NNPC that nothing is happening, especially when they have increased production by over 500,000 barrels in the last few months, they could also feel insulted. So I think the reality on ground is for us to look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, the evidence don't lie. And the evidence suggests that there is improvement, albeit not enough improvement. But that is a big difference between nothing is happening and what is being done.
Well said there. Oh, just before we go, I would like to, have conversations around the outlook for, the oil and price of oil in the coming months. We have seen quite a number. JP Morgan's is proposing or predicting, that Brent's crude, the price of Brent will hit as high as $90 a barrel in the month of May. Do you agree with this sentiment? And looking at, the sector closely, how significant do you think that the role of the geopolitical tensions will, affect or will play in shaping oil prices in the near future?
Oil is a global business, and like any global business, geopolitics affects it. So it doesn't matter whether it's oil, whether it's legal drugs as the pharmaceuticals, it doesn't matter whether it's the marine industry. Anything that has a global reach will be affected by global politics. It's as simple as that. What is important for us is not to be determining and be following the nuances of politics, particularly because we have limited influence over it. Ours is to be able to accept and this is the question of interest and make the best use of it at this time. So it's always about the just about the we have 7 years of plenty and 10 years of lack. Let us believe that this current increase is reminiscent of 7 years of plenty. Let us make the best use out of it. Because getting involved in the politics, being able to determine the politics, being able to finger point when we are not able to influence it, the best we get of is bragging rights. That's just to say, I knew. What is the value of I knew the whole thing if we are not able to improve our lives? And I think that's what Nigerians should be thinking about.
Well said there, Olabode Sowunmi, who is an oil and gas expert. Thank you for your insight on Business Daily. It is deeply appreciated.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that it is for our conversation this morning, where we looked at, the rising price of oil and how that will impact on the Nigerian economy. As you know, oil is the main revenue generation link right here in the country. We have seen oil prices oscillate between $90 a barrel and $92 a barrel. So what do we expect in the coming months? But he has spoken extensively on all of those. Well, this is where we say our goodbyes on today's edition of the program. But join the conversation on social media and let us hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on all of these developments that we have discussed on the program, discussed today? Let us know your thoughts on social media. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.